lot of accommodative action that's going on in Europe and in the UK, and so he's just sort of adding to.
We are very excited today, as we sit near the highs of this market, to introduce our special guest host, Peter Kiernan. He's an author and former partner at Goldman Sachs. Certainly becoming a regular on this show. It's our pleasure to see you again. So what's your take, Peter, on the Fed right now? Is the Fed doing enough? Should they do more? Are you a proponent for QE3?
Well, right this minute, I think they're using what I call their third tool. The first was some monetary easing, then was some qualitative easing, and today they're using their words, as I would say to my kids. They're basically trying to communicate that some stimulus is coming. And I think when you
really, it's actually coming, is your view?
I think when you put the pedal to the metal this way, this communication sort of gets people, it drives them to stocks, it drives them to precious metals, it gives people a good feeling. I think there's a lot of accommodative action that's going on in Europe and in the UK, and so he's just sort of adding to the chorus. I wouldn't say it's inevitable, but he's adding greatly to the likelihood.
Is there a danger here, though, that he's adding too much? And Adam just showed us the dollar, and
right.
You're seeing a decline there today of about 0.5%. Do you worry at all that this is going to mean even higher oil prices down the road, given the declines we're going to see in the dollar if, in fact, we do get QE3?
Look, I think you're onto something very key, that for all these commodities that are quoted in dollars, this basically means for us it's going to be more expensive. And a weak dollar is long-term not going to be consistent with economic recovery. I think there are other ghosts that are haunting him that are bigger and more terrifying. I think that's what's driving him more than just being worried about the dollar. I would include jobs and housing as the two big ones, and he has made a lot of noise about how housing is the elixir, it's the tonic that drives economic recovery. He's been that way since he's written about the Great Depression. He's looking for more activity in housing, and I think he's going to try and drive it.
Yeah, but I just wonder, I mean, Adam, you and I have talked about this before. I mean, if you suddenly signal that interest rates are going to go up in the near future, then all those people that are sitting on the sidelines thinking about buying a house, they're going to say,
my mortgage is going to be expensive. I better go get a mortgage, right, if you think rates are going up. And yet he's saying through 2014 he's going to keep rates low. Peter Kiernan, I guess the question is, can you really keep rates low through 2014 if the economy starts to percolate later in the year?
No, I think he's going to have, I mean, there are two things that are very hard to do, even though you think of the omnipotent Fed. One is to inject money into the system. It's harder than it looks. And controlling rates is just not an easy thing to do. And we've seen that, some of the volatility in treasuries, even in the last couple of weeks, that there is no one who really pulls that lever. He can just indicate how he's leaning. And I think some of the Fed governors who are less pro-stimulus are not in the voting cycle, so I think he's seeing things kind of come his way.
Well, financials and technology up about 22% year-to-date. So if you are a hedge fund and you have underperformed for each of the past 5 months, you're saying to yourself, you know what, I got to play catch-up. Forget about all the value names I think are cheap. You know what, I'm just going to go with what's working, because those things, for every day the market's up 1%, 1.5%, they're up 2 to 2.5%. And that, Trish, is called catch-up. It's window dressing. It's not pretty, but that's the game that you're starting to see play out this week.
Well, yeah, it's going to be frustrating for anyone who's investing in one of those, right? Just because, hey, you could have sat with just your money in an S&P index fund
it's hard to pay the
done
freight.
A heck of a lot better.
Yeah.
That 2% freight looks expensive when you're paying it out that way. But, I think, look, the hedge funds have gone through a very tough period. What's striking to me is if you look at how far the market has come, it's up 30+% since October.
Right.
Great return, very low volatility along the way. That's not really the hedge fund's expertise. Great return, low volatility, that's unusual. When you find that, you're happy to be invested in it, but it normally doesn't last.
No, very true. So what's the trade at this point then?
I'm not sure that, I happen to like the metals. I think that the metals are going to have a continued run here, and anytime there's anything accommodative, you're going to see a lot of people running to gold. A good day for gold, good day for silver, and those kind of precious.
Yeah, they're all up today.
Okay.